All right, welcome to the live, everybody. How we doing? Gonna get started here in a little bit. Waiting for some more people to get on in. All right, everybody, welcome to the live stream. All right, happy April 21st. It is 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. Right? It's a lot to get to. A lot that's happening around the world in America as well. But yeah, we could just start off with obviously looking at what the establishment, what the mainstream news media has to say before we hop into some controversial alternate news media, anti-establishment news. So yeah, we'll take it off by I guess just starting with what the mainstream media, establishment media has to say. Monday, April 21st. All right, here's the top news headlines according to NBC establishment. Let's take a look at what they have to say.
Tonight, the life, legacy, and impact of Pope Francis. The Vatican announcing the death of the 88-year-old pontiff just a day after he made a surprise appearance during Easter celebrations. Tonight, what we are learning about his cause of death as mourners fill St. Peter's Square. A carefully orchestrated plan for his funeral begins. Meanwhile, cardinals from around the world are headed to Rome for the conclave to choose a new pope. The latest from the Vatican tonight. The stock market plunging, the dollar's value falling. Christine Romans with what sparked the sell-off and what it all means for you. President Trump defending his Secretary of Defense as a new controversy surrounds Pete Hegseth. A report of another signal chat about plans for a military strike, and this time the Secretary's wife included in the chat. The emergency evacuation of the Orlando airport, flames and smoke erupting from the engine of this Delta plane, getting ready for takeoff. The plane filled to capacity with nearly 300 people on board, forced to exit by emergency slides. Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, robbed. A purse with thousands of dollars in cash inside stolen. What we're learning about the investigation tonight. And the record run at the Boston Marathon with the women's winner earning a place in history.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
From the mainstream is the Hegseth, but that's it.
Good evening and welcome. The ancient Roman Catholic rites of loss and transition are underway at the Vatican, where the death of Pope Francis was formally recognized this evening. Many noting the poetry of his passing just a day after Easter.
We're going to get into the comments
today, the Vatican listing his cause of death as stroke and irreversible heart failure. In 12 years as leader of the Catholic Church, Francis sealed his legacy as a reformer who challenged tradition, a pastor who forged a deep connection with the weak and vulnerable, and a model of humility. Tributes to the late Pope are pouring in. President Trump posting, "May God bless him and all who loved him." The president ordering flags here in the U.S. to be flown at half-staff and announcing he and First Lady Melania Trump will attend the funeral, expected to take place later this week. Cardinals who will ultimately elect a successor to Francis are beginning their journeys to Rome, where many of the faithful have already gathered in tribute.
A new era, guys. A new era in Catholicism.
Tonight, sadness and prayers in St. Peter's Square. A rosary service beginning the morning for Pope Francis, joining Catholic faithful around the world who are still absorbing the news of his sudden loss. The 88-year-old pontiff passing away this morning just one day after a surprise appearance on Easter Sunday.
Yes, Brandy, it is interesting.
Reading a blessing he had written.
And where it is after
the people's pope, unable to pass a chance to be
because
close to his flock,
were mad at the
greeting the crowds in St. Peter's Square and riding in the Pope Mobile, despite the advice of doctors that he rest and avoid crowds. It was classic Pope Francis, in the view of Cardinal Timothy Dolan.
We can't choreograph the way we go, but if you could, this wasn't bad. Pope Francis was kind of like a natural. He kind of knew the power of symbols. He was very authentic, he was very sincere. He didn't want to put on a show, but it came natural to him. You'd almost think he had planned it, which we know he didn't, but God planned it, and I thank God for the beautiful way that he went on.
The Pope also spent a few minutes on Sunday with Vice President J.D. Vance, keeping up a busy schedule in the final.
And the comments are going crazy, bro, saying J.D. Vance did the right thing by visiting last night. According to all the Protestants out there, my gosh, the comments are nasty.
days and hours of his life, coming just days after greeting hospital staff who cared for him and also visiting with prisoners. Earlier this year, Francis was hospitalized for over a month with pneumonia,
the Pope
returning to the public eye just weeks ago.
He's in one of the shelter bunks, really too.
All of it for Pope Francis. Beloved for his compassion for the sick, the poor.
Oh, and I hear some more controversy. Klaus Schwab. Norton says Pope Francis was a fraud. And that's an interesting conversation, guys, because obviously, the Protestants and the Christians who aren't, Orthodox do not like what the Pope did. You can make an argument that the Pope was too, let's say, woke. A lot of Protestants believe the Pope liked migration, same-sex marriage, trans people, LGBTQ, migrant rights, and all of that. Which is, what you can say that's good and all be faithful, but Christians have a different point of view. So let's keep going and see what they say about this.
Poor and forgotten, focusing the church on what he believed was its mission, to spread love and mercy. Elected Pope in March 2013, there was that poignant moment on the balcony.
Facciamo in silenzio.
You're right, Matthew. Klaus Schwab and Pope
asking people to pray for him and bowing to them. Naming himself after St. Francis of Assisi, who ministered to the poor, the Pope's humility demonstrated from the very start. Returning to his hotel to pay his bill after the conclave, carrying his own bag.
All right. And then good for you, Brandy. Don't vape, don't smoke, don't do drugs.
Jorge Mario Bergoglio, to Italian immigrant parents who settled in Argentina. He studied to be a chemist, but was called to be a priest. Eventually becoming the Cardinal of Buenos Aires, living simply, riding the subway, the bishop of the slums. As Pope, he clashed with Vatican officials, but endeared himself to many of the faithful, declaring, "I am a sinner." Accusing the Vatican bureaucracy he sought to reform of spiritual Alzheimer's, and saying, "Who am I to judge?" when asked about a gay priest at his first in-flight press conference, though he opposed gay marriage. His more progressive views at times sparking criticism from conservative American bishops. On the world stage, he spoke out against the invasion in Ukraine and brokered a thaw in U.S.-Cuba relations.
I can only reiterate the importance and, above all, the richness and the beauty of family life.
At one point, Francis saying couples who choose pets instead of children is a form of selfishness. Children brought out his best, never more so than when he met a young boy on this parish visit in Rome.
Okay, we'll skip to here, guys.
Meanwhile, at home, there was another...
Because obviously we have to get through what the establishment media says for the day. That's why we're looking at NBC News. But yeah, I mean, the first half of this video for Nightly News is just glazing the Pope. Like, he's just some transformative figure in the history of the world, which you can say it is, but, and according to many people who disagree with him, not. He did the opposite. Matthew says a Klaus Schwab official stepped down from the World Economic Forum on the same day. And check this out. Matthew and everybody who is listening, you can make a case that, Klaus Schwab, because he did have him the same day, Klaus Schwab, the Pope, and globalist leaders, the World Economic Forum are all in a line. They all know what's going on. They know how to manipulate the board, right? And people are saying that, religion is a fallacy. The CIA made up religion. Religion can be controlled. The church, the state, the Pope is the most important figure in religious history. And people just have, are waking up to like, we can be religious. We can like God. But are we going to be controlled by the Pope? Is the Pope's word mean everything? Probably not. And then Norton said the Bible separates church from state. That's an interesting comment, for sure, because you can make a judgment that he was he was the state and the church. I mean, this guy acting like the judge, the jury, and executioner. That's what the Pope was. The Pope was a unconditional figure that we all had to bend the knee, kiss the ring, and praise down. Obviously, he's you know, pro immigration. He likes same sex marriage. He likes progressive ideology, which they just said. So we'll just have to see how it comes. And Norinal just said the judgment is coming on the face of the earth. For real. Bro, we're gonna have to keep that coming. But let's see the second biggest story coming out the establishment and mainstream news. Let's take a listen.
Another big drop in the stock market today. All the major averages tumbling close to 2.5% during a wild ride on Wall Street. Let's bring in NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans. Christine, everyone's asking what's going on.
Yeah, and investors are alarmed. They're really alarmed here at the president's escalating attacks on the Federal Reserve chief. On social media, calling Jerome Powell a major loser, demanding that he cut rates now. Powell? Markets already contending with shocks from tariffs with no trade deals in sight just yet. Powell said last week those tariffs could cause more persistent inflation. The Fed keeping rates steady for now, but the president's top economic
Doge, I don't know how to say your name, but said, I think it's good he supports LGBT. That's what Jesus would have wanted as a pope. You should love everyone. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about that. That kind of messaging and that kind of having a humanist kind of standpoint, what you're saying. But at the end of the day, there's a difference between being a Protestant Catholic traditional values, marriage, because remember the invention of marriage is a concept of a Christian thing, is a joining together of a family, the man and the woman. The Pope obviously is a representation of the church, being the Pope. A lot of people had mixed messaging about that, but I agree with you that maybe we should love everybody. Maybe it's good that he likes immigration. He likes people that are underrepresented, but at the same time, it's a contradiction to the actual faith itself. Because Catholics and Protestants will tell you otherwise. They say he's a fraudster. They don't like that he's pandering to the left. He's pandering to socioeconomic statistics and all that stuff. We'll just see how it is. The market's reacting, of course. Matthew said, yeah, they crashed in the Titanic on purpose. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's another Sep Matrix. And then, you said confront the sin. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You either support the part of Christianity that the Pope was representative, which a little more progressive, or you just stick to traditional Christianity, which, didn't really coincide with the way the mainstream Pope of Vatican was doing. But yeah, let's keep going to see what Trump has to say about Jerome Powell.
Advisor said, the White House is looking at whether removing Powell is an option. Trump appointed Powell, remember, a Republican in his first term. Powell has said removing him is not permitted under the law. An independent Fed is a cornerstone of U.S. financial stability. So the threat of turmoil there, dragging down stocks, bonds, the dollar altogether, the dollar at a 3-year low tonight.
All right, Christine, thanks. Turning now to growing fallout over the Defense Secretary's use of private messaging app Signal. It comes after several Trump administration officials came under fire for discussing sensitive military operations using the app. Kelly O'Donnell is at the White House.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp.
Matthew, you said, are you LGBT? No, I'm not LGBT. I'm not part of that community. I'm not saying that what's wrong with that community is bad, but that's that I definitely have conflictions when it comes to that community. I'm not saying it's like morally bad to be a part of the LGBT community, but that's just not who I am. And then I guess that was just for Doge. He said no, but some of my friends are. And yeah, that's the thing. You guys are gonna have to talk about that between yourselves. Is what Pope Francis is doing progressive enough to say he's Christian? Or, did he just fall flat on his face? Because, a lot of people have mixed feelings about that. But let's wrap up the story and we'll keep going to the alternative news media reaction to the Pope.
On the same page all the way.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth facing a new allegation of improperly sharing sensitive military operational details before a strike in Yemen. That group chat included his wife, brother, and personal lawyer, according to two sources, who say Hegseth sent the information using his personal phone and the Signal app. Hegseth and family at today's White House Easter egg roll, where the secretary attacked media reports but did not address the substance of the allegation.
They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department.
4 former top Pentagon advisors are speaking out about Hegseth's leadership more broadly. Incredibly disappointed is how 3 senior aides described their firing last week and say they have not been told what exactly we were investigated for. Meanwhile, former Pentagon spokesman John Elliott, who left voluntarily, writes the president should remove Hegseth, citing total chaos and disarray under Hegseth's leadership. But today, the president says he stands by him.
Don't worry about confidence. We have so much confidence. We have the highest recruiting numbers almost ever. That's confidence.
Kelly, what do we know about the information Hegseth shared?
Well, a source confirmed to NBC News that some of the information Hegseth passed along was similar to the subject matter with the military details of that original group text with cabinet officials. What remains unclear tonight, though, is why Secretary Hegseth would pass on attack information to his wife, brother, and lawyer when they would have no operational need to know. Lester?
Kelly O'Donnell, thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think that gets into it for the mainstream news of the day. I don't see anything. I guess we can hop into this front headline too. Let's see what this is.
Now to the growing battle between President Trump and the courts. Late today, Harvard sued the administration. Gabe Gutierrez is at the White House. Gabe, what's behind Harvard's lawsuit?
Lester, Harvard is arguing that the Trump administration's freezing of billions of dollars in federal aid is unconstitutional and illegal. And this comes after the university refused to agree to demand.
Dude said, I'm a Kemetic, which means I believe in ancient Egyptian religion, but I know some things about Christianity, and it's all about loving everyone, so I think it makes sense the Pope has those views. Oh, yeah, I mean, look, there's different sects when it comes to the Christianity movement. Obviously, there's people who are unorthodox, there's people who are Protestants, there's people who are Catholics, but, you know, a lot of people didn't like the Pope siding with mass immigration. And that's one thing. Mass immigration, the unbinding definition of same-sex marriage, marriage in general. Okay, the trans thing. Because think about it. It's different when you're, you know, a lesbian or LGBTQ. But you know, if you're a trans, you know, it's how Christians would put it. It doesn't make sense. It's ungodly. It's not based in reality of unjust and just. I mean, that's the argument against the Pope and what he was making. Obviously, people think the Pope was, you know, a good guy for siding in with all these underrepresented communities. But you know, is that the Pope's narrative, or you know, the Christian community's narrative? You have to see. He's a historical figure. Matthew said, Trump is so convincing. Yeah, right. And Harvard sucks. Yeah, we definitely agree on that. You know, as an independent and somebody who's, you know, who I guess leans a little right, looking at Harvard, you know, with their endowment, I mean, they shouldn't get any money. You know, they're already rich. They're a bunch of elitists, Ivy League, you know, class over there. So let's just see what the headline says, though.
That included auditing student viewpoints. Now, the White House has said that Harvard has not done enough to fight anti-Semitism and should not receive federal tax dollars, Lester.
And Gabe, you're also following a showdown in the courts over immigration.
Yes, that's right. Over the weekend, the Supreme Court halted some deportations temporarily. And
yeah, I mean, everything is against
captured
Trump right
some
now.
exclusive video Friday night showing an ICE bus carrying Venezuelan migrants headed towards an airport in Texas before abruptly turning around. Now, late today, President Trump just posting on social media that he's being stymied at every turn by even the U.S.
Even
Supreme
if you don't
Court
like him, that's
over
true.
his deportation plans. The White House is now asking the High Court to lift that hold. Lester.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez tonight. Thanks. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true. That's all the news for the night, I guess, according to NBC. But the establishment definitely is picking and choosing, you know, I guess the topics they want to cover on the issue of that. But, you know, again, we're going to have to see, you know, where it goes. Matthew said the Freemasons run this world. I'll end it here as I have seen so much, and I'm not sure if we should have secret society. Um, I yeah, Freemasons for sure. We can get into the, I guess, the controversial, topics of the day. Obviously, what's going on when, foreign influence, Israel happening in, Ukraine and Russia, and there's a lot of things going on for sure. The most common thing, I guess, you want to say is Freemasons, but I have to ask you after this, what's more likely to happen, Matthew? If there is an actual deep state that's predicated and fundamentally aligned with globalists and the World Economic Forum, or there are secret societies like Freemasons all over the world in countries that are hooked and aligned together. And there's a difference between like a deep state establishment, the 1%. Just how you perceive I guess the people who have influence. All right, but let's take a look at what's happening, obviously, in the anti-establishment world. We can look at the narratives for that. So let's see. Um, and let's take a look at what's happening on Twitter right now. So what's trending? Vladimir Putin, Mossad, Pete Hegseth, Bondi, Evo, and then Logan Act. Okay, and we can take a look up and follow up on the Pete Hegseth stuff and finish out this. So this is what the anti-establishment has to say about Pete Hegseth. People like Matt Walsh says, I love the Pete Hegseth pick initially, but after seeing this unrelenting campaign to smear and destroy him, I love the pick even more. We all need to rally around him. This coordinated hit job cannot be allowed to succeed. Okay, so that's basically Matt Walsh and the anti-establishment community siding with Pete Hegseth. Because this is what mainstream media won't present, right? And obviously MAGA voice says like time to get loud for Pete Hegseth. Obviously character assassinations. They want him to go. And yeah. Oh, and Darkwood presents at hello everybody. Hello Darkwoods. Thank you for tuning in to the show. This news update happening. We just covered the Pete Hegseth Signal Gate. We're gonna see what the anti-establishment community has to say about it. Let's keep going. Charlie Kirk is supporting him, I guess. And then obviously people are, and this is what he had to post yesterday. When people were attacking him, obviously. Darkwood said, I tried to DM you on X and it didn't go through. I wanted to send you a link. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. Darkwood. So I'll definitely look at that. If you sent me some links, I'll check that out. I'll check my DMs for sure. But yeah, I mean, and then Alex Jones said Pete Hegseth had a signal chat for his wife, and it's the end of the world. Meanwhile, the Democrats, I mean, obviously, people are putting that, and then this is what he said in response. We can hear a clearer message of this right here.
What do you want to say, sir, about the signal chat controversy?
What a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me. Because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids. Because, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why.
That's a good point. We already saw the clip for that. Yeah, I appreciate that, Matthew. Alex Jones is compromised. We can get into the Alex Jones and Israeli situation. I think that's what you're leading to, Matthew. And then Darkwood said, I wasn't able to DM you. Yeah, I think I have my DMs off. I'm gonna have to look at that and turn them on. But I know my Instagram DM works. So I'm gonna have to look at that, Darkwoods. I appreciate you for your support. And yeah, you're right. I mean, Darkwood said, Signal is an approved app, according to the CIA Director Ratcliffe. And I think it's weird going back to, the first minutes of this. So he fired 3 people allegedly the 4 anonymous sources, 2 of the people he fired are in that. They're disgruntled employees that have an edge to give. Obviously, they don't like Pete Hegseth. They don't like Donald Trump. And what are they going to do? Go to CNN and NBC and then drop the whistleblowing hit piece? I mean, it doesn't make sense, And you can say that it's coordinated. It's not. He had it coming for him. But obviously, if you're based and you don't fall for the bullshit, we can obviously tell this is a character assassination. I mean, they cannot let this man go. Matthew said, "I don't know how much he's not bringing up AI government enough until now. He finally bring in the light. That's for sure. That's for sure. You know, and it's kind of weird to see. I mean, Nick Swartz putting on this, but let's keep going. He is risen. Benny Johnson supports him, and obviously, all the, people like him are going to be, on the opposite side. They said Pete Hegseth, whiskey leaks again. Trump tanks the stock market again. Nancy Mace curses out a constituent again. Kristi Noem gets her handbag stolen. Marjorie Taylor Greene celebrates the death of Pope Francis. It's Monday. Obviously, this guy doesn't like, what's going on here. And he doesn't know. He knows as much information as we do about the leak. I mean, obviously, people are like, Pete Hegseth should be fired. But I don't think that's the case. And that's weird that he said Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, should we bring that up? Jory. Okay, let's see the controversy for this, guys. Come on. What is this? Okay. Okay. I see. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, evidently, celebrated Pope Francis dying, and that's the thing. That's what I told you guys. There was a massive rift in the Christian community over the Pope Francis death and all that. But surprising to hear something like that say that. Dark Woods presents said, I mean, he might just be using signal text his family and lawyer. I don't think he sent top secret info, but his family and lawyer, but his lawyer might have a security clearance. And yeah, I mean, that's the argument they're having. If it's right or wrong to keep, having signal chat. And you're right. I mean, it's for personal use if he only texted his family and a lawyer. It's not like he's texting the president of the United States on this. Darkwood also said, I just hate all these people that do not understand security clearance or yes, the commercial. For sure. And then you can just make an argument that, what? I mean, it's a free world and you can chat on who you want to chat. I just don't understand the constant media hit lash on this. But yeah, let's keep going. Vladimir Putin, Afghanistan, Bondi is trending. Let's see what Pam Bondi is trending on. People are saying, good morning. It's been 75 days since Pam Bondi was sworn in. There has been no indictments, no subpoenas, no arrests on anyone involved in January 6th. COVID, Russiagate, Epstein files still not released. Is anyone still is getting frustrated? Okay, and I sympathize and empathize with this post, and there's a lot to this post. Look, we like that we're getting dubs, right? Even as independents who lean right, obviously we're taking lots of dubs, but this is the main thing we want, right? Accountability for January 6th, COVID, Russiagate, right? Russia's an asset. Election was stolen. We need to get to the bottom of that and clear that up. And then the Epstein files. I mean, we can get into the entire thing of some of the good and the bad that's come out of the administration. But I definitely agree. We need the Epstein files, the Martin Luther King files, the 9/11 files, and the UFO files. They need to start declassifying stuff faster and quicker. People like me who are independents, I'm not fully on the conservative side, so this is my grift with them. They need to be more, like they said, anti-establishment. They need to start bringing and sowing trust with the public, trust within the community. I mean, how are we getting screwed over again? We want these files. We deserve these files. Stop acting like the gatekeeper for all this. And we know we should give Pam Bondi, the benefit of the doubt, and we should give her some time. But seriously, her and Kash Patel need to get rid of the deep state. They need to release all the redacted files that we, the people, deserve. And we need to start hammering this in thoroughly. If Trump doesn't deliver on this might be one of the biggest fails And that's coming from an independent who leans right. I mean, if Trump doesn't handle some of these things, then we're going to have, grifts, and we're going to keep having grievances, It's about time this happened, This year or next year, maybe not this year because it's his first year and he's going at it. But at some point, we wanted the Epstein file list. We wanted Russiagate, So we'll see. People down here are commenting. Let's see. Deplorable one said, I think it's possible that Trump is planning a shock on the all campaign of arrest before the midterms. Imagine the chaos he could unleash on the Democrats if half of the candidates running were charged with pedophile, corruption, and treason. Yeah, that's a hilarious comment right there. And that's maybe there's a bombshell coming. Maybe he's waiting for the midterms 2026. But we need something to happen, guys. Right? Am I the only one who's fixated on getting the anti-establishment things out there? Matthew commented and said, it's as deep as it gets. What's up with the Epstein and MLK and JFK? Right? Like, what's going on here? Are they compromised? Is somebody being blackmailed? Do we have foreign influence in our government that's all letting this happen? We have to answer these questions without being offensive. Darkwood presents that Trump, Hegseth, Musk, and Vance can do no good. They wouldn't have been this antagonistic to Kamala. All these negative press are just fear-mongering. That's true. Agree. Matthew said the real rings don't want to be exposed. And that's the thing. Is there a ring within the ring? Because Kash Patel pointed to it. Kash Patel sat up there before his confirmation and said, we're going to turn the FBI building into like a museum. We're going to reach the deep state. It's not happening yet. We need this to happen. That's the biggest thing. I mean, fuck everything. Fuck the woke shit. Fuck, the culture bullshit. We need government accountability. Dark Woods presented, I am conservative for now. They are doing a lot of stuff that I want. The list of things I want them to do probably couldn't happen in my lifetime. Oh, that's a good point, And if you're conservative Republican, you're taking dubs. You're taking dubs. But me, who is independent, who leans right, I would just wish there was a little more anti-establishment things. And maybe it compromises Democrats and Republicans because there's a two-party system. But as an independent, we don't give a fuck about that. Compromised or not, we want the truth. Matthew said they try to give us a rabbit hole with known about the rabbit hole. And look at this. Okay, so check this out. Easily Donald Trump right now is an historic president, one of the greatest presidents in my lifetime, even if you're a Democrat. The opposition is real. You have to look at a free market like that. What is he doing? What can go wrong? I mean, the main thing about him, because he's a populist president, and the people who voted for him are like libertarian anti-establishment, a majority of the grift was grievances towards Trump giving the middle finger and the FU to the government. That's like the biggest thing, Maybe you agree with that, Dark Woods, and maybe you're not. But obviously, there's a component into this that, what, we need to get rid of government actors, and he's a part of the government right now. We'll see how long it takes. My thoughts have not been popular. Here I go. Okay. You're not frustrated because they're not delivering. You're frustrated. You've been delivered and won't accept it. And here's the thing, right? Like, that's the grift, right? That's the divide in MAGA and the Republicans. How good is Trump doing, and how good is his administration doing? Trump is doing a phenomenal, 100%. But his administration, Pam Bondi, I mean, I'll give her an okay. I mean, she did like a 3-week. Hear me out, Dark Woods and Matthew. Pam Bondi did a 3-week hype of the Epstein thing. We haven't got that, but she delivered on par of the JFK. So, I mean, it's a bunch of hype going around. We'll have to see who buys into it or not. But, I mean, that's interesting that this is popping up today. And let's keep going, okay? So this is for today. Oh, and we should listen to this, right? So Kyle Becker reports that, Benny Johnson had an expert on, Senator Ron Johnson, on, corruption, Epstein, and all that. So we can look at this for sure. What does this have to say?
We have thousands of recordings versus one Zapruder film. It's not just the senator that has a record of email communications, for example. So in the Dr. Morin's email, we didn't get that from the agencies. We got that from a university that email was sent to. So there's a lot of people, we gather information from all kinds of different sources, and we cross-reference, when we're asking for certain communications. If we get it from one party outside the government and we don't get it from people within the government, that's how we have evidence that they're either covering something up or they've already tried to destroy evidence. But again, in today's electronic world, it's hard to destroy, particularly electronic evidence.
But they're still doing it. But you were able to find cases of them doing it.
Yeah, well, again, my guess is they are. And again, the fact that there's nothing responsive to our subpoena with Tom Shimabukuro indicates that, yes, he absolutely destroyed evidence. That we had sent letters, preservation of record letters repeatedly to the agencies not to destroy this evidence.
Okay, so that's an actual senator saying evidence is being destroyed if it's like electronically. Okay, let's look at the pushback this got. Obviously, the comments might be going crazy. Let's see. Big Benny Johnson says, can't be true. Wouldn't that be illegal? Trump said, we caught them all. It took longer than 90 days. Okay, this is a criminal. What the hell is wrong with Pam Bondi? Yeah, and, that's just weird. But yeah, Matthew said, I haven't watched Benny since Trump won. And that's the thing, right? A lot of these voices were either grifting or promoting Trump at a particular time to boost his, stuff into a campaign. But obviously, people like me who are independent and lean right don't really listen to, MAGA talking heads like that. I do listen to, a lot of conservatives for sure. But like in terms of like a think tank, definitely not. No think tank over here. Darkwood said, my spirituality, it's kind of electric, but it pissed me off all this religious persecution because they do as Christians. Okay, and we talk about that too. Darkwood's also said, I think the atheist groups are getting violent and pressing for religious and spiritual oppression. That's a good point. You also said, I think that it should be illegal for anyone that is a member of a secret society to be an elected official. Oh, that's a good comment right there. And that's, America first for sure. We should have elected officials that are born in this country and have the priorities of this country and this nation. We don't need no foreign influence. And we elect dual citizens. We don't have a problem with immigrants. We don't have a problem with people who are different backgrounds. But being in power and having a foreign influence, hell no. And then obviously, getting back to the point, here, I guess, and you said that Christians are being persecuted, for sure. Not just that, you can make an argument, no Jews, no news. We have that. People aren't talking about the Christians being killed in the Congo. People aren't talking about the Christians being persecuted in Syria, the Christians being mass slaughtered in Africa, the white genocide happening in Africa. Nobody wants to talk about that, but you're definitely right, Darkwoods. There's like an atheist movement that's underlying a libertarian movement. Because remember, the libertarians are atheists, but the libertarians are on our side. The libertarians are lean conservative, but they don't believe in God. And you're right. It's entire persecution of people that we don't, care and we don't want to focus on. Matthew said, I used to be every day. Okay. Let's see what this comment says. Is Trump a true Christian? I heard a segment him saying he's not. Okay, that might be controversial in MAGA. Look, Trump, he got slack from the Democrats for selling Bibles. Does he go to masses often as other Christians do? Who knows? But Trump has stated, and hear me out, Matthew. He stated that he's not like an Orthodox Christian, maybe, like fully religious, but he said he's Christian. He stands with the Christians. He stands with Christian values, family values, pro-life, and Israel. That's the thing about Trump. Trump is perceived right now, and hear me out, Trump is perceived as an evangelical Christian because he's Christian, he supports Israel, he's conservative, but he's also a populist president. So it's like I'm not saying it's a Trojan horse because he's not like fake. He might be fake. Who knows? But obviously, he's not like a fully religious guy for sure. And the Israel thing just wipes it out for me. I mean, seriously, being Christian and being beheaded to, a foreign nation that we can say Israel has a right to exist. But I mean, he's truly a Christian Zionist, if that's what you want to put it as. Anyway, Connor, the link I tried to share with you was about Meta whistleblower exposing collusion with China. Okay. Maybe we can look at that. Let me see if I can look at something up. So, Meta whistleblower. Okay. Okay. Collusion with China. Let's see what pops up, guys. Ah, okay. Here we go. Dark Woods. Let's see. Okay, so according to the BBC, Meta whistleblower alleges company worked with China on censorship. Oh shit, dude! Yo, I didn't see that one, dude. I wish I had my DMs when he had DM me that one. But yeah, let's look into this, I guess. So, April 9th, 2025. This is recently, right? Um, so a Meta whistleblower told U.S. senators on Wednesday that the company undermined national security in order to build an 18 billion business in China. At a congressional hearing, Williams, a former global public policy director at Facebook, said she was with executives decided to provide. Oh, look at this. Ex- decide to provide the Chinese Communist Party with access to the data of Meta users in America. Wait, hold up now. Hold up. A congressional hearing. This happened? Oh my gosh, guys. This is like pure, like, think about like globalists, like globalists. Like, this is what you expect. The CCP is in bed with Mark Zuckerberg. The CCP is in bed with Facebook and Instagram. And think about how much, Mark Zuckerberg is obviously an elitist, but think about how much shit he owns. That's in bed with China, probably. Mark Zuckerberg owns, what is it, Snapchat, Meta, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg's literally, if this is true, then all of his everything related to Mark Zuckerberg might be compromised, might have something to do with, Chinese influence, if this is true, which, according to most data, it looks like it is true, right? And then obviously people are saying, Mr. Daniel said Mark Zuckerberg has been public about the company's interest in offering its services in China. Okay, and this is the thing, right? This is where the rubber meets the road with America first, okay? Because this shit in America first for me, okay? He wants to provide services in China, which means, in other words, he wants to have a manufacturing base or some kind of headquarters in China, giving jobs to Chinese people, giving our labor to Chinese people, giving our manufacturing to Chinese people. I mean, this entire thing wrong with this and what's wrong with this article. When you have the CCP trying to influence a foreign nation, trying to influence American entrepreneurs to kind of bribe them to take their work and take their business somewhere else because it's cheaper and might benefit them. That's fucking elitist, globalist, capitalist like nonsense we have to listen to. And we like free markets, we like capitalism, we're super pro capitalism. But stuff like this is just cooked and chilled for a foreign nation. And think about this. This is why China is winning. This is why Trump said what he did with China and the tariffs. So how is China winning? China right now has an entire manufacturing production base in its country based on foreign influences that is provided to. Europe manufactures in China. North and South America produces stuff in China. India produces stuff in China. I mean, Saudi Arabia, Iran, the Iran buys weapons from China. I mean, everything is produced in China. This is why China is winning because, the CCP has its fingers everywhere. The Chinese, can't just like let it. And this is probably the most important takeaway from this article, right? How far, Matthew and Darkwood presents, how far is China willing to go in order to consolidate influence and power in certain like branches of like industrialized like manufacturing, because basically like it's a manufacturing like negotiation tactic that China uses. Can China get in bed with you? Can China buy you off? So fuck that, fuck the Chinese. And that's not America first. And Meta and Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, seriously, if you thought Mark Zuckerberg was a Mossad Jewish aid and is a shill for Israel, then this just proves it wrong. I mean, he's a shill for COVID, he's a shill for China, he's a shill for foreign countries that have nothing to do with America's interests. What the hell is Mark Zuckerberg doing? How the hell is this guy, the face of entrepreneurialism on like a liberal per point of view? Darkwood presents that China only uses capitalism as a weapon. They are still communists, and moreover, I would say they're socialist. Oh, how about that? Because look, well, they're not socialists because socialism and communism is opposite things, even though you see this, the concept of socialism, communism is the same thing. You pay in the same much and you get out the same much. But the reason that you can say they're not capitalists, the Chinese aren't capitalists, but they're communists, but they have a huge manufacturing base. They're a Trojan horse. Actually, this is how nefarious China is. Think about this. China will play to your needs, play to your weaknesses. Say they're, you're communist, we're working class people, socialism kind of stuff you're saying. But in the end, there are a bunch of greedy capitalists who extort labor from their population to influence the world in a foreign capacity. Because think about it, China wouldn't be able to do what they do if they didn't lie to their citizens. And say, at the same time, they're CCP, they're communists, but at the same time, we're going to extort your labor to make factories to produce all this stuff made in China. And then you have suicide nets around all their factories. And, and this is the thing, right? We already talked about this, but that's a good point, Dark Woods. Dark Woods President also said, I would say that China attacked our production to make country weak so they could impose their communists on us. Okay, well, look, I have a different conspiracy theory about globalism in China, because China is a massive player in this. But let's just say you're right. China in the after World War II, they specifically wanted to target us, so they made foreign production against American jobs and it's on their side. I don't think they're that smart. I don't think they're that nefarious. They're nefarious, but evil, but they're not that smart. The Chinese are not that smart. You can say that they purposely destroying our country, that's for sure, but I don't think they planned it out. Because if they actually planned it out, they had to actually infiltrate our government, which maybe they did. Maybe we're owned by the CCP in Israel. Maybe we're just cooked. At this point, America First for Independence is just cooked. We have a bunch of foreign entities, foreign nations trying to grab a hold of the mantle. It's crazy. Darkwood Presents said communism is where the people own everything. Socialism is where the government owns everything. Capitalism is where the people own money. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point, right? So, and like China says, it's our kids, it's our nation. It's like we, a total, fabrication of what it means to be, a contributing member to society. But yeah, that's a good talk, and I appreciate you brought that up, because China definitely needs to get its face kicked in, and Trump's doing that with tariffs. Forget the culture war bullshit with China and China's their stranglehold on certain manufacturing production bases. They're literally marching for trying to be the precipice, or trying to be literally the next world superpower. They're nefarious, and we need to put a punch in their face. But yeah, let's keep going. Appreciate that article, Darkwood, but let's keep going. Anti-establishment. Yeah. And this is the thing, like, people say Pam Bondi figure. Actually, arrests made none, contributions made none. Obviously this is a little exaggerated, but yeah. And let's keep going, because I know there's a lot of talk about her. Okay, I mean, this is a post. People are saying, obviously, today is day 89 of the Trump administration, 73 days of Pam Bondi as Attorney General, 57 days of Kash Patel, 34 days of Dan Bongino. 0 politicians have been arrested. I voted to drain the swamp. Okay, no, so this is, and think about this. This is a massive, difference between, you want political persecution, you want to have your political rivals arrested, or you just want justice and a thing. So look at this. This is what people in MAGA want. 0 politicians have been arrested. So that means people in MAGA want political retribution. We want political persecution. We want our political rivals to understand that the same game they played against Trump, they can get played against you. Is that right or is that wrong? I'm going to take it as an independent. I say no. We don't need to be politically persecuting each other back and forth, because this is going to go happen beyond time. It's going to go left versus right. We're going to arrest each other, and we're going to have political warfare. We shouldn't have that. Obviously, what happened to Trump is wrong. What happened to Trump's family was unjust. But at the same time, Trump shouldn't be targeting political rivals based on their political, thing. And that maybe Dark Woods and maybe Matthew would disagree on that. But I don't believe in political retribution or political revenge. You know, I don't think they should be arrested, but I think they should be exposed and held accountable, in a public manner. We shouldn't start, arresting our political opponents for sure. If Trump did that, I'd be against it. That's like not independent right there. And by the way, if it's left or right, they're only going to be arresting lefties and righties. They're not going to be arresting independents, libertarians, Green Party, the anti-establishment. It's just a political persecution of the left and right. It's fucking bullshit. Um, and let's see. Darkwood Presents said, well, they have to fully investigate before they start arresting people. That means they need time to build these huge cases, legal cases, and just prosecute one person at a time. And that's true. And that's a good point you're making, because a lot of people maybe in the Trump world are very what would you say? They're unimpatient. They're not patient. They want authority to be held accountable right now. And you're right. It takes a time to build a case and to bring a public case to humiliation or persecution. You're right. Justin Ajakumo referred for criminal persecution by Attorney General Pam Bondi. Wow, that's interesting. Pam Bondi, Kath Patel, and Dan Bongino should know this. A good first step to fixing America would be to prosecute politicians who violate their oath of office and preserve, protect, and defend the oath of Constitution. So that's like the grift I'm telling you. People want them to be arrested, or some people who are guilty, like you said, Dark Woods. If they are guilty, they need to be arrested. Sure, but we're gonna have to see how that plays down, because that'd be that'd get ugly right and left for sure. Philip Anderson, we see his tweets a lot. Unless we all start hell right now, all the Epstein files will be destroyed. Pam Bondi defenders looking dumb as hell right now. I screamed every day and for the action, and you idiots scream, be patient at me. Good going, you fucking retards. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, And I have a difference, right? Instead of people being arrested, I just want all the files to be released. But, that's me. We don't have to get into the gist of, who should be politically persecuted. Obviously, people like Hillary Clinton have a lot of scandals on their plate. But yeah, that's interesting that Pam Bondi is trending. But yeah, let's look at more headlines, obviously. So Vladimir Putin, P. Heck says Afghanistan Bondi. Let's look at what Vladimir Putin has to say. And Darkwood said, yeah, we just have to be patient. I agree with part of that. We definitely, more patient than just screaming our heads off. So here's this. Today, Liz Churchill reported that the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, is globalist terrorist who is holding humanity to ransom. Putin warns globalist terrorist Klaus Schwab his days are numbered. Yo, this is like, think about this, bro. This would be a crazy standoff between I guess world leaders and globalists, right? Like just imagine, and this was from October 5th, 2023. So who knows where their beef would be today? But like you can obviously tell like a world leader is not a globalist unless they've been invited to the World Economic Forum where all the countries gather together. And think about how nefarious that is. World Economic Forum, all the elitists, all the leaders from all these countries gather together in a room and make decisions on behalf of globalism. I don't know, it's just crazy. It shouldn't be like that. Yeah, you said Darkwood presents Clinton equals Watergate. Yeah, very interesting to happen, because obviously we know that the left took advantage of that, the Watergate situation for sure. Drew Pavol said, I call on JD Vance to immediately meet with Vladimir Putin for peace talks. And I guess, I mean, that's the thing that's trending right now is there going to be peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in the near future? If not, they're just going to fight it out and Russia would win. That's what the majority of America First is saying. And MAGA and Trump supporters is like, why do we need to fund another foreign war when they could just fight it out to see who wins? I mean, but obviously that's messed up because Russia would win. But how America First is foreign funding, we don't know. Ironclad said, break-in. Russia President Vladimir Putin says it's time to boycott Israel and it puppets countries. Well, I mean, yeah, obvious. Yeah, people saying, the controlling of the minds in terms of, foreign influence, but is that fake news? It only got 63,000 likes or views, so who knows? Um, yeah, I mean, I guess old news is trending with Putin, but I don't know why he's trending right now on Twitter. It's weird. Twitter has different trending things. So Vladimir Putin, Pete Hegseth, Afghanistan, Bonnie. Let's see what Afghanistan has to say. Artists. Here's a video of the Taliban having a military parade with billions in state and of the art military equipment left behind from the Biden administration's horrific Afghanistan withdrawal. No one was fired. I do want to hear another word about excess being fired. And that's true, man. Whoever wrote that, that's so real. People want to talk Hegseth and Radcliffe being fired, but nobody wants to be held accountable for the historic failure of Afghanis. Darkwood presents it. I don't believe that Russia did it to steal territory. If it's true, people really need to ask why Russia invaded. No, Darkwood presents. I agree with the. I agree with the position that Scott Horton and Dave Smith and Thomas Massey have had on Russia, not Israel, on Russia. I didn't say Israel. I said Russia. Of that, it was Europe and NATO expansionism that led to Russia being, in a place where they had to make a decision either to stop their expansionism or invade Ukraine. Obviously, war is bad. We don't like war, but I mean, is Vladimir Putin? The Darkwood also said there are basements in Russia cursed. Where there are lots of civilian bodies that have been there since the year convert. I mean, that's true, right? Parts of Russia were Ukrainian, parts of Ukraine were Russia. There's a big hissy fit about what's going on. Obviously, I'm siding on the date. And my argument is not that if it's right or wrong. It's just that NATO expanded too far deep into the East region that Russia says that it's on its borders. It had to invade Ukraine because of NATO. But who knows if that's propaganda or who knows if that's right? You tell me. But yeah, let's just watch this. Fucking Muslim. What is it? Shia Muslim Taliban military parade. All right, look at this. Disgraceful, dude.
درنو لیدونکو او د ملي رادیو اوریدونکو دا د امریکایي اشغال د هیواد د ازادۍ او فتحې په دې مراسمو کې د اسلامي امارت هوایي ځواکونه هم پوځي نمایشات ترسره کوي او د زمینی ځواکونو ملاتړ کوي. هوایي ځواکونه په اوسني عصر کې د یو هیواد د دفاع له اساسي عناصرو ګڼل کېږي. اسلامي امارت د هوایي ځواک تقویې ترمیم او پراختیا ته کلک تعهد لري او په تیرو درو کلونو.
That bullshit, bro. You're telling me, look at this. You're telling me a bunch of third world goat fuckers can make this technology? Hell no. Joe Biden left this in Afghanistan when he withdrew. Now the Taliban have a strong military. Think about it. A third world country in Afghanistan has a first world military. That is insane, dude. Let's keep watching this. Yeah. That just makes me mad.
بینندگان و شنوندگان مراسم
complete propaganda, bro. And these guys are fucking go
که در میدان نبرد سینه دشمن را میشکافد
But then, they get handed a silver spoon with Joe Biden's name on it. It's estimated, before we go on, $80 billion of Afghanistan money for the Taliban, and they're doing the parade. Can we fact check that real fast? Let me see if we can find that number. How much military money did Afghanistan get? Okay. Or how many supplies, right? We're looking for the supplies, guys. How much supplies worth did Taliban get from U.S. withdrawal? Okay. Let's see if this is straightforward, guys. Here is the front page. Okay, so it says 2 years later, the federal budget impact of the disastrous Afghan withdrawal. Okay, obviously, let's see if we can get. Okay, dude, here it is right here, guys. This is according to our government right now. On top of these country tragedies, the Biden administration left billions of American taxpayer dollars in the hands of Taliban. The Department of Defense confirmed that over $7 billion worth of military equipment remained in Taliban's possession after the botched, withdrawal was completed. That is insane, guys. If you can just read that, coming from the United States government, I mean, and people like this, right? U.S. weapons left in Afghanistan sold to militant groups 4 days ago, guys. 4 days ago. No wonder there's chaos in the Middle East. I mean, everybody has a weapon. Darkwood presents. Let me read some of these. Darkwood presents that this is not the first time Russia has invaded another country illegally, and they had decent reasons to invade in some places. That's their track record. Should be a consideration. Okay, I agree with that. That's a good point to point out. Darkwood presents also said there's a real danger of the intelligence agencies creating wars that the U.S. has to fight. Okay, supplying arms and giving help to dangerous terrorists is in the CIA playbook. Oh, hold up for a second. That's a good transition comment. Let's talk about that more. Is this a CIA playbook? Did we intentionally leave around $8 billion worth of military equipment to these, jihadist Talibanis? Obviously, you said the real danger of the intelligence agency is creating wars. And that's the thing, right? Did we purposely leave weapons there? Or was it incompetent Joe Biden thing, and they during the withdrawal from Afghanistan, they just forgot, they just forgot the weapons. Nobody knew about it, and it just played out. This is 4 days ago, guys. 4 days ago. We're still looking at the repercussions of this of Joe Biden's administration's Middle East policy. Obviously, and then we can look at down here, right? So I mean, this is just so look at this right here. This is the main part, right? 500,000 weapons obtained by the Taliban have been lost, sold, or smuggled to militia groups, sources have told BBC. So think about this. The weapons we left them, around $7 billion, around 500,000 weapons. They're just going to sell them on the black market? The selling them on the goat fucking Arab market for terrorism. I'm seriously, this is messed up. It's not right. And take it back to this is the original point of why I brought this up, guys. So they released video, and we can mute this, right? I'm gonna mute this. They released the Taliban released video of their military parades. And look at that shit, dude. Their military parades a few days ago still have our equipment. They're selling their equipment. They have our equipment. It's insane. Darkwood Presents said, this is for the military industrial complex. I had a security clearance that I didn't want to take too many PMC contracts because there were false flags and helping our enemies, in my opinion. Okay. And then you also said, well, they did truck in Chinese weapons to Vietnam that was declassified, and there's camera footage of it too. Well, and look, and I want to get back to this point. Does our CIA, does our military purposely fund foreign wars in order to resolve them, or fund wars in order to sow chaos and regime change? That's a good comment, dude. I mean, seriously, if you're looking from the perspective of, look at all these false flags, military funding, military spending, and obviously, Dark Woods and everybody listening, it's not just about the concept of war. It's like the testing of weapons. Because some of these war zones, some of these battlefields are just an experimental place where you can test weapons. For example, during the start of the Ukraine-Russian war, we were testing 2021 at the time, our newest Stingers, our newest military weapons. We were giving to the Ukrainians to test them on, the Russian military men. And they obliterated. I mean, you could see these weapons in place, right? The USA tests weapons, funds foreign wars, gets involved in foreign wars, and then they act like they're the heroes. I'm not going to be too bashing on America because I love America. America first. This is the greatest nation in the world. But obviously, the net negatives that happens with our military industrial complex. You're right. I mean, you're right. It's been going on for a long time, and it's not going to stop. And whoever is pretending that it didn't happen with this, the Taliban shit, is just fooling themselves, because this is a third world country that has a bunch of first world weapons now. Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah, I mean, and this is trending too, right? So Mara said 13 American service members were killed during the disastrous Biden Afghanistan withdrawal, 2021, when Lloyd Austin was Secretary of Defense. Why? Okay, and this is the thing, right? Lloyd Austin should have his job called for him. If they're calling for Pete Hegseth, they're calling for Mike Waltz, they're calling for Trump's administration to resign, get fired. Dude, like 3 months ago, the Biden administration had the withdrawal pullout, and they completely botched it. Nobody got fired, and nobody got fired for the Brittany Griner trade either. Should we talk about that? There was like a political trade that happened, and Joe Biden just flimsied out and gave the black woman for the Merchant of Death or whatever happened back then. But that's the thing. Nobody gets fired. Nobody gets held accountable. The only people that want their jobs taken from them are Trumpers. Or it's the far right, and there's just a mixed messaging. So that's bullshit. But let's keep going. What else is trending, everybody, on the free market, anti-establishment news? So we got Vladimir Putin, Charlie Kirk, the Education Department, Mossad, the Dow, Afghanistan, Hillary. I guess we can look at Charlie Kirk. Let's look at what's trending. Oh, before we get to that, Darkwood said, it's not unpatriotic or treasonous to expose things our government does that is wrong or against our interests. Never think like that. And that's the thing. What my main purpose is to, as an independent, we love this country. We're patriotic. We're America first. And America first is not MAGA. I'm going to be very clear in what I say right here, because this is going to, get your opinion. As an independent who leans right, America first is America first. It's not MAGA. It's not liberal. It's not conservative. It's not a populist movement. It's a foundational movement that hinders on the fact that, we, the American people, are now going to take control of the mantle, in terms of how we want our lives to be run, our cultures, our environment, foreign funding, foreign wars. I mean, America first is different than MAGA. All right, that's two completely different things. And I don't want to offend anybody who is listening to me, who's conservative, who likes MAGA and Donald Trump. But there's a difference between MAGA and America First. Obviously, we know the obvious reason. But yeah, you're right. It's not unpatriotic to expose your government. You say that America has been bad in certain instances, but also it's the greatest country in the world, Like, obviously, it's the greatest country in the world. Even though we've done bad, we've done genocide and we massacred Native Americans. We've committed, horrible things. But again, that's the tit for tat, picking and choosing. Well, let's again transition. So Charlie Kirk is trending right now. Charlie Kirk is in the news. Judge Denny, Fox News, or I guess the fan said, Charlie Kirk said the GOP. Can we find the actual thing? Oh, well, let's just read this. Now that we put your back in power, no more hearings, committees, or special investigation. The evidence have been seen by the entire world. We want justice. We want indictments. We want prison for all those who committed treason against the U.S. And that's a strong, straight statement. Think about that. Instead of arresting political opponents, political dissidents, people who aren't America first, people who are infiltrators, people who have dual citizens or dual like allegiance. Not saying that dual citizen, we like dual citizens, but dual allegiance. Should you be arrested or is it treasonous? Hey, bro, that's like the biggest difference between how you're gonna look at that. Are you a traitor? Should you be held accountable, be put in jail, or is what you did treasonous and you need to go? Dude, that's a big comment right there. Should we? Because we think about it, we're not just gonna purge or arrest, people who are not America first, people who, who are traitors, but put them up for treason. Dude, that's a big movement. People said bring back treason, bring back treason, bring back bullying. No, that's horrible. I mean, but that's his perspective, obviously. If people want to see Hillary Clinton on a rope right now. That's funny. That's probably a lot of people's perspective. But let's keep going. Charlie Kirk. Let's see. Okay, so this is a video of yesterday. This is a video of J.D. Vance giving the Pope. And the last thing about that, the last person that the Pope, a historical figure, religious leader, saw was the Vice President of the United States of America. That's a dub for America. The last person, a foreign visitor, was an American to the Pope. That's good, you know. I mean, not well. It's good and bad. The Pope is dead, but obviously, you know, America. You know, this is good optics for America. Let's see this video.
These are the gifts. These are also gifts for you. Thank you. It's beautiful. The Vatican tie, and then the rosaries for your wife, for your children.
That was yesterday. The Pope was alive.
Thank you very much for your visit.
Of course. And thank you for seeing me.
Yep, the last person to see the Pope was in America. That's America first. That's a dub. Everybody comment what you think about that. Darkwood presents that China has secret police stations in the U.S. Chinese people and the U.S. citizens are undermining our country. That needs to stop right now. Oh, okay. Wow, okay. We can talk about this too. So China has secret police stations. Chinese people are undermining. Okay. And we can make the argument, Darkwood, and everybody's listening. So how much has China infiltrated our government? Forget the Israel question for a second. Specifically China. So China has farms in America. They have banks in America. Chinese workers and Chinese students are allowed in our education and universities. China, and think about this. China has such influence on our country, they flew a spy balloon for like 2 weeks over our nation. And then we shot it down. Joe Biden shot it down after China flew a spy balloon over there. And nobody, or it might just be a regular balloon. No, that's a Chinese balloon. So people want to act feckless. People want to act like they're stupid. We know Chinese are infiltrated in our government. You're being funded by China. And, you know, we can tell the Chinese in tariff war. Our American producers were bought off by China, and that's why they transitioned their manufacturing base to China. Because China a foreign nation has influenced our farmers. A foreign nation has influenced our manufacturers. It's fucked up. China is like the biggest problem besides, you know, other foreign influence, I guess. Let's say, I mean, it's not about racially Chinese people. It's about what they are doing. Yeah, I'm also going to bring in the Chinese, unlike Koreans or Japanese people, they just don't give a shit about life, you know. So that's an Eastern take on that. Darkwood presents it. You should give me a blue wrench so I can post links. True. I don't know. Can I do that? Let me see if I can do that. I'm gonna have to see if I can do that. You should give me a blue. So and I'm gonna think about that because you're very good at, you know, keeping up these conversations, Darkwoods. And he said I can prove everything I say just about it. Yeah, I'm gonna look up how to do that, and I need to open up my DM too. Because there's a lot of things going for sure on that topic. But let's look at, okay, this is Charlie Kirk posted this 18 minutes ago. An old guy came up and told me the Holy Spirit instructed him to challenge me to a fist fight. This is how I handled it. Okay, let's see what this guy says.
The Holy Spirit brought me here to challenge you to a gentleman's fist fight right here in front of this whole crowd. Now look. Listen.
No.
Wait.
I would hate to hospitalize you in front of 2,000 people.
Okay, so hold on. I'm serious about this. I'll let you take the first punch. Let's go. No. Put up or shut up, Charlie Kirk.
You know
Put
what?
Up or shut
so,
up.
First of all, it says very clearly in the Bible that we shouldn't harm those that, you know, are worthy of protection, and you obviously are.
You're just worried I'll kick your ass.
Well on Medicare aid. But let's play this out. Despite the obvious fact, and you and I both know who would win this duel. However, hold on a second. This is a great embodiment of the American left. You can't debate, so you want to go to blows. You can't.
Wow.
The only thing that is preventing us from this country from going to civil war is debate and dialogue. And you don't even want to have debate. You want to go and you want to wrestle like a 7-year-old. Who here is actually dividing the country? I would like to think that we are elevated above trying to go have a fight in the streets or a fight in front of 2,000 people. In fact, a mark of civilization is that we don't have to go to blows or bullets, that we can have discourse and debate, but yet you're inviting that. I'm not going to fight you because I don't have to. Because you know why?
You don't have to.
You are acting as if someone who is very desperate, who is clout chasing, and we won an election. We are going to remain peaceful while the left promotes violence. We are going to be the peace because, as Christ our Lord said, Blessed are the peacemakers, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Thank you, sir, and get out of here.
Wow, yeah, dude, and that's a dub, And even if you're not religious, dude, that's a dub for the right, and that's a dub for independent thinking. Obviously, and this guy's going crazy in the comment section. Shit, we're gonna look at that for a second. Devilish, appreciate you for joining the conversation. Said, I don't think you can use links in lives. People won't be able to click them. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm gonna have to figure that out, or like you said, Dark Woods. I'm gonna open my DMs, my Instagram, and my Instagram DMs and my Twitter DMs, so we can open links and stuff. And I'll get you on that. Maybe we can become a mod and stuff. But other than that, yeah. Getting back to this, Charles. I mean, think about it. If you're not religious, just like the morality of conservatism, the morality of Christians, and what the Bible teaches you. Hear me out. Principles, morals, and ethics. Okay? 3 different fundamental things a person needs in life to, I guess, live the best life you can. Not saying everybody has to be religious. I'm not that religious, obviously. I'm not like a super conservative, but like I respect Christianity. I respect their religion. I think that's the best religion in the world, probably. And the message of how conservatives go about their business in politics. I appreciate that way more than any liberal progressive person who's trying to convince me on an issue. But I think that's good from Charlie for sure. Let's keep going. He also said Anthony Fauci's pro lockdown. Okay, obviously. But I want to find more videos. I know she's doing good. Charlie Clark posted a video of Jasmine Crockett. Let's see what this has to say.
According to them, the trans kids that want to play the sports, Lord have mercy, that is the biggest issue that we had. Since when? Since when? Find the little trans child that is ruining your life. Like, I mean, I'm just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? According to them, the trans kids that want to play the sports, Lord have mercy, that is
the... like, she's gonna get that. Yeah, Darkwood, you said I have Blue Wrench on other channels, and that's mostly so I can share links. You can post them. Anyone who wants to view it, the link would have to type it in manually. Okay. So yeah, I'll try to see if I can give you that, Darkwoods. I'll see if I can try to give you something like that. Let me see if I can do that through my settings right now. Yeah, you said a blue wrench mark. I'm trying to find it. Channel activity, a pin message, report, remove. Maybe as a moderator. I mean, you can try as a mod. Sure. I mean, you can see if you can post links now that you're a mod, or you can add yourself a blue wrench. Let me know if that works, and I'll see if I can, try to change it. But let me know if that works, Darkwoods. You're now a mod. See if you can post links. But yeah, okay. So this is Charlie Kirk on, obviously. What's going on, but I want to see him specifically debate, the Pete Hegseth thing, because I know he was talking about that earlier. Let's see this. Well, I know this is a Bill. He was on Bill Maher. We can just watch this cook real fast.
I mean, I believe that transgenderism is a mental disorder, as it was, diagnosed in the.
So you don't think any people are like born, quote unquote, in the wrong body?
No, I don't agree.
No?
I think people might think they are born in a different body, but I believe it to be a mental disorder, as most of clinicians did up until the last 5 or 10 years.
Well, this is another one where the woke hates me. I mean, I did a whole thing on how I think, and we do disagree on this, by the way, because I do think there is such a thing as being born in the wrong body. But
I mean,
what, dude? That's crazy that Bill Maher just said that. Forget like the transition stuff, the changing your gender stuff. People are born in the wrong body. Okay, maybe this is controversial, guys, but think about it. Bill Maher, a famous liberal who leans conservative, I guess, or he leans more to the center, said instead of the trans thing, because that's woke, people are just born in the wrong body. No, that's the thing that Charlie said is mental illness, right? It's either you're a man or a woman, and then you transition to a different gender, or you're just born in the wrong body, as Bill Maher said it. Yeah, that's insane. But yeah, I'd have to type in manual. Let me see. You just sent a link. Let me see if I can pull that up. Let me see where I can pull that up. Oh, okay. So, Darkwood, is this a link right here? Oh, okay, I got it. So, at least 6 more secret Chinese police stations in U.S. report says. Okay. Let me look through this report you sent. There are multiple Chinese police stations operating in cities across the U.S., according to an investigative group who exposed the stations after FBI arrested 2 people in connection with one of those operations. And the New Yorker posted this, reported. Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that link. Here's the main link that you got it from. Okay, so after FBI busts Chinese police station in New York City, 6 more exposed in the U.S. Okay, let's see where that. Okay, so right here. In addition to the Chinese police station above a noodle restaurant. Yeah, of course it's above a noodle restaurant. It's either above a sweatshop, a noodle restaurant, or a nail salon. God, these fucking Chinese immigrants, dude. Good thing I'm Korean, but the typical Chinese person. As another station is undisclosed in address, as well as outposts in Los Angeles. Okay, so in major cities, the Madrid-based human rights group initially detailed 100 clandestine. Oh, what is this? 100 clandestine Chinese police stations around the world. This is Chinese influence. This is China. Forget the Jews for a second. The Jews, it's Israel. No, it's China. China has police force in the world. They bribe people in the world to have you, send your business manufacturing to China. I mean, China's nefarious. China, and think about this. We can go into this, because maybe it's private armies or something. But I mean, yeah, China is not only buying farmland in foreign countries, police station in foreign countries, bribing people to move your factory into their country. They're also, trying to downplay, their significant influence in the world because they're gonna stand up and, stand behind Iran and, blame Israel. And we can blame Israel too, but I mean, that's just funny that the Chinese are in this too. Devilish said, yeah, so this is similar to the underground tunnels in Chicago. Yo. Oh no, bro. I'm gonna get canceled after this fucking episode. I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe it's stereotypical, the Jews have tunnels underneath and sewers, and the Chinese just have, secret police stations above noodle shops and sweatshops. I mean, that's probably the most stereotypical shit you can put on. But I appreciate you for sharing that link, Darkwoods. Yeah, that's definitely interesting, and we're gonna have to take a look on that. Here, going back to your initial post. I mean, yeah, we say, and it's different. Like, it's either these people are, Chinese immigrants. Hear me out. Hear me out. Either Chinese immigrants looking for a better life, police force, or they're a part of the CCP. They're part of the Chinese Communist Party who are infiltrating our nation. And they still have, and think about how nefarious the CCP is. Even if a Chinese migrant visits another place, or a Chinese migrant visits somewhere else, they still have loyalty to China because their family might be in China. Maybe they're blackballed. Maybe they're blackmailed. Maybe they have initiatives for like their social program that they have. And you have to, and that's a fair question to have. People doing the anti-Semitic laws and the anti-Semitic bills that you guys were awake for. The anti-Semitic bill said you can't accuse a Jewish person, you can't accuse a Jewish guy of having more loyalty to a foreign nation than our nation. That's anti-Semitic. But here, we can definitely credit and say these Chinese migrants, these Chinese people in America have more loyalty to China than they do America. And is that like xenophobic or something? I mean, it's the same thing of foreign influence and foreign money in our nation. It's not being racist, but it's being America first, knowing that most of this shit isn't America first. It's foreign entanglement. Darkwood presents it. There's a lot of ethnical Chinese people that have been here since before the railroad was built, and they are through Americans. But what's going on with the Chinese students carrying info? And that's the thing. That's the difference between, I guess, Chinese migrants before the railroad and during the railroad, and Chinese migrants now. Like what is your like? Why should you be in this country now? Because usually you come in this country on an invitation, on a region, on a work permit, on a educational. I mean, there's reasons why you're in this country. Why are Chinese migrants allowed in this country? I don't know. For me personally, I'm Korean American. I don't give a shit about this, but there's a huge influence. You're right, of Chinese people. Darkwood said they aren't migrants if they are just here to work or go to school. They are interlopers, right? Or and that's maybe some benefit of the doubt or some grace I'll give to these Chinese migrants that they want better life and they're fleeing communism. But I mean that we've heard that argument. I'm fleeing communism. Let me into your country. Dom Data said, "Hey, yep. Welcome to the conversation, Dom Data. We're just getting into this Chinese influence. Forget the Israeli influence for a second. This is straight up Chinese infiltrating our system. But yeah, let's go back to it. Obviously, and send me more links too if you find out dark woods and things I should talk about. But going back to this initial clip, and we'll play it again because this is going to be heated. We're going to go to the comment section. It's going to be very racist. It's going to be very homophobic. But let's look at what he said one more time before we go to the comment section.
I mean, I believe that transgenderism is a mental disorder, as it was, diagnosed in the.
So you don't think any people are like born, quote unquote, in the wrong body?
No, I don't agree.
No?
I think people might think they are born in a different body, but I believe it to be a mental disorder, as most of clinicians did up until the last 5 or 10 years.
Well, this is another one where the woke hates me. I mean, I did a whole thing on how I think, and we do disagree on this, by the way, because I do think there is such a thing as being born in the wrong body. But I mean,
okay. But yeah, before we get into those comments, should we check out that famous China is asshole clip? Let's do it, guys. China asshole. Okay. Ready for this? Devilish said, China #1 social credit score go up for yo. Probably. I mean, that's what they do to their people. I mean, talk about like fear mongering your people. If you don't agree with the government, they're gonna put a little. They're gonna do your credit score like that. But your life, it's your social credit score. Yeah, if you want to be an American citizen, you really don't have CCP connections because they vet you. That's true. All vetting and all that. But yeah, let's look at this. Okay. This is what we agree on, guys.
China. We need independence.
Yep. And what's your message to? Have you seen Donald Trump? Do you think he should step in?
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole. China.
Yo, this guy's my guy, dude. That's what Koreans say. China is an asshole. Let's play that again.
We need independence.
Yep. And what's your message to? Have you seen Donald Trump? Do you think he should step in?
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole. China.
Oh my gosh, bro. Yeah, it's my brother. That's what I'm talking about. Fuck those Chinese. Let's keep going though. But yeah, let's get into the comment section. The trans people. Yeah, Darkwood Present said, Democrats want a social credit score. For sure. It's social credit score for your race, your gender, and and how woke you are, or your stance on the Israel-Palestine thing. For sure. And dude, that's like the number one, like that's literally communism. Is that communism? I don't know, but that's like the biggest communist thing I could say. A social credit score, holy shit. But the comment section, okay, let's get into this. Look at this. This is a deeper conversation of reincarnation. It's not being born in the wrong body. It's basically remembering parts of past lives. Okay, yeah, that's like, okay. You're not born in the wrong body. What happens is you reject Jesus Christ, and therefore you reject his creation. You're being influenced by evil spiritual forces, but you definitely are not born in the wrong body. And this got a lot of likes out of the comment section. Obviously, this is a more a religious, spiritual, part of that. And this person said in return, so do you deny any heart transplant, glasses, and new kidneys? You should need it. And that's like a science argument, I guess. But let's see. This person said what can't it even mean to be born in the wrong body? LOL. That's like saying maybe you were born in the wrong color eyes. I mean, that's the thing too. You know, are white people born black? Are black people born white? Or are they in the wrong bodies? Is a man born in a woman body a woman, and a woman born in a man body a man? So the entire thing of the transgender issue on the reincarnation born part of it doesn't make any sense. When you think of like, so how does like race and gender play into it? They can't answer the gender part. I mean, they can answer the gender part, but they can't answer the race part. um which is a it's funny to say. Yeah, Darkwood presents it. That's what canceling is all about, for sure. Cancel culture 0.0. Dom Data said it's fair to say there is a misunderstanding about the difference between a CCP and the average Chinese citizens when Trump etc makes statements. Okay. And then Darkwood said in return, well, Trump isn't alone in that. I don't think most people know any difference. I don't think many people in China know the Communist Party. And I'm not calling that Dom Data. You and this is the difference between Japanese, Chinese, and Koreans. Okay. Chinese are married to their state because it's a communist. So it's a communist party, right? They're married to a state identity. So instead of saying your family, they say our family. Instead of the people, it's our people, because it's one nation under China. It's one ethno state that prioritizes their fundamental ethnicity over other people's. That's why people say China is probably the biggest ethno state supremacist that we have in the world. Because the British, the Ireland are losing, the white people are losing. African is getting dominated by Muslims, African jihadists. So the only place that's really thriving in ethno sense is China. They're a supremacist country. The Chinese people are more nefarious. And hear me out, dumb data. The Chinese people are more nefarious than any other Asian groups you can think of. Maybe the Malaysians, maybe the Japanese back in the day of the imperialism. But China is really the biggest problem in that region in the world, you can say. And this is the difference between Chinese migrants and Korean migrants. South Korea, Japanese migrants. Specifically, the CCP will let Chinese migrants visit America, maybe stay there, but they let their entire family live in China. So they don't let your entire family leave the island of China. And that's how they keep people hostage too. They say, half of your family in China can move to America, but your other half of the family is going to stay here and have the social credit score. And that's how they get the Chinese and the migrants to have dual loyalty. Same thing with Israel. You don't think people, maybe more maybe it's true, maybe it's false, maybe it's right, or maybe it's wrong. They might have a more loyalty to a foreign nation than ours. Perfectly reasonable. It's not racist to ask that question. I know you're not implying that, but yeah, Darkwood presents that. Well, Trump isn't alone in that. I don't think most people know. Devil said, I love Chinese people, not the CCP. Yeah, I love Asians. But Chinese people, as a Korean American, I have definitely biases against what the Chinese have done in their existence. Dom Data said, does it ever rain, fall? The wrong place seems its nature. Okay, that's a good comment you just made. Dark represents the Chinese people are decent people. A lot of them love their long history, but can't live in China because of the persecution. And I think they're worthy of asylum. Do you think they're worthy of asylum? Darkwood presents. Hear me out. Okay, maybe we're gonna get into that. Let's keep going. Dom Data said, I get it. They are loyal, but some are open-minded, I think. Okay, and then you also translate Chinese mottos and oaths to more morning affirmations that are mandated to the Chinese people in schools and workplace. Okay, so let me go back to this place. So you think Chinese people are decent, they love their history, and they're only and they are deserving of asylum because they are persecuted. I don't deserve, and hear me out. Maybe this is controversial. Maybe you guys would disagree. As America first, as an independent who was a patriot to this nation, we should not accept foreign migrants from places we don't like, from our adversaries, from our enemies. So basically, what I'm saying, we don't allow migrants from Iran, China, North Korea, South Africa. They're doing a genocide on white people, if you haven't noticed. People who don't like America or don't have American values, who don't have Western values, shouldn't be in this nation. People who aren't America first or who don't want to assimilate to our culture, don't want to integrate into our country, they need to go. Okay, the entire point of America First and taking on migrants from foreign nations is that they can integrate with our nation. you know, I mean, you just can't, assume and give people the benefit of the doubt because you might think they're nice. That's bullshit. I might think, some jihadis in Africa or some North Koreans are nice, but I'm not going to give them the full benefit of the doubt. Like you said, maybe just let them into your country. Devilish said, I understand, Connor. I just try to treat every ethnic group the same. Uh, and I agree and disagree with that. And there's levels to this. Hear me out, Devilish. I'm not trying to be racist or prejudiced, but and maybe this is fucked up, but I will treat Christians better than I will treat Muslims. And that's my political preference. All right. I prefer living in a white neighborhood other than a black neighborhood. I prefer, in maybe parts of Israel over Palestine. I mean, we just have preferences. We don't have to be racist about it. But if you're preferring an ethnic group over another, I think that's perfectly fine. We should have more South Koreans than any Chinese migrant or any North Korean. Just based on the fact that how their love for the West, their love for America and our values. And that's how I dish it out. Maybe that's really biased and that's not right, but I don't give people the benefit of the doubt like some other people do. Maybe that's just tolerance and being a good person, but that's me. Darkwood Present said, if they are leaving because of persecution, then that's the assignment law. Okay. And I agree that, but think about this, Darkwood Presents. If there's only one America, there's only one free world. If all that and China has a huge population size, if the Chinese people just wanted to flee their country for persecution and then come to America, it couldn't be possible. There's more Chinese people than there are Americans, and there's more Chinese people who want to leave their country and come here. And how about this, Devils and Darkwoods? I bet there's half of their population doesn't want to live in China. I bet half of their population would like to live here. Too bad that's not going to happen, and it shouldn't happen. I bet China's a shithole. They don't like their government, but that doesn't mean they need to move here. It's the same thing with Donald Trump and illegal immigrants. I mean, you either come to this nation because you want to integrate and you love Western values, or go back to your homeland and start a revolution and win your country back. I mean, seriously, the same argument goes with for foreign jihadis. You want to come to Europe, you want to come to the West, you want to come to America and bring Sharia law here. No, you came here to get away from your culture. Fuck that shit. I mean, fuck that. The essence of the point, and you guys understand what I'm talking about. And this plays into emotional Christianity, being a good person. It's something we have to take a look. Darkwoods Present said, I hear you, Connor. They have to renounce their CCP allegiance and properly natural. And that's what I'm saying. All right. We take an oath to this country, take allegiance to our flag, and then we're good. Maybe they can be sociopaths and lie to our face, but at least you took an allegiance in front of us to our flag and to our nation, right? Devilish said, of course, I understand, Connor. I get where you're coming from. And that's the thing, Devilish and everybody who's watching. The migrant thing, too, is like, are you leaving your country to start a better life? Or are you leaving your country because of persecution? Are you leaving your life because you want to, travel and enjoy the world? We have to know about that, and we have to get your priorities straight because, I guess and this is a part of being a good person, right? Maybe we give people the benefit of the doubt. You're actually fleeing communism. You're not lying to us. You want to make a better life for yourself. Okay. But our vetting process is going to be brutal. Our vetting process is going to be racist. Our vetting process is going to get to the truth, Why are you here and what is your narrative? I mean, that's the thing, And I'm not going to say that racism exists like it does because people just throw that word out tit for tat. It's racism, it's anti-Semitism, it's Islamophobic. Actually, it's just our preferences as a nation and as Americans, Sorry to hear that. I know the same thing can be said with the Confederate flag and their preferences, but I mean, it's a free country. Dom Dada said, leave the propaganda behind, but bring some good recipes to the United States. We welcome good food. That's the thing, too. And I agree with that, Dom Dada. The Chinese have good food. We like some of their music. They've been around for a long time. And, their architecture, like the Great Wall or like, it's good. We like their art. The Chinese are good people in terms of like cultural aspects, not of like actual like human rights and stuff like that. Like I understand the 5,000 years of Chinese history, and they're a thriving nation, and the Chinese have always been around. I respect that for sure, but that doesn't has nothing to do with our current conflicts, I guess. Darkwood said there are immigration quotas. We accept a certain amount of people a year. That is exactly what we should do. Oh, hear me out here. This goes to immigration reform, the border, migration. Okay, so as a Korean American who was born in this country, who loves this country, is patriotic to a doubt. I think we need less immigration, not more. I think, in terms of like the people struggling here, the wealth inequality, it's just crazy to me that having an immigration, system that prioritizes bringing in new migrants every single year is insane to me. Maybe I'm wrong because we are a nation of immigrants, but obviously, we should have a certain percentage of how many people come here, the countries we like that come people here, on our enemy list. We should have an enemies list. Like Tulsi Gabbard said, there's terrorists in this nation, there's gang members in this nation. We need a vetting terrorist list to, keep an eye on you when you get in this country and when you've been vetted. Devilish said, I disagree, Darkwoods. I think we should slow down the flow of immigrants until America is in a better state. And that's my point. Well, we shouldn't prioritize the well-being of foreign people over our people. We shouldn't prioritize the well-being of foreign nations over our nation. The same concept with America First, which I know it's hard for liberals and parts of Democrats and MAGA to understand, because MAGA likes Israel, and I understand why. But the entire thing of like America First, it has nothing to do with MAGA in essence. It's literally the saving of the West, our cultural like approach, how we're gonna survive, like, are we gonna prioritize and think about, there's only 350 million to 400 million Americans. Are they American? Are they natural? So we have to like actually care about the survival of American culture in the way that it might be going off as prioritizing racism or preferences. Darkwood said, yeah, the vetting process should be very strict, and requirements to become a citizen should be strict. It should be the strictest in the world. This is the greatest nation in the world. America is the pinnacle of the West. We should have the greatest vetting process, the greatest immigration process, the greatest due diligence process in the world. Too bad we don't have it. But as Americans, we definitely need to start prioritizing stuff like that. I did agree with you, Devilish and Darkwoods. Those are good points you guys made. Dom Dada said we should take whatever we can afford. And that's true, right? Like, we're not gonna force we take whatever is available. Like, we're not gonna force things. We're not gonna force and insert our dominance, insert, political like pandering. And I call it pandering because pandering is different than getting like influenced, or you change your opinion. Like, pandering is specifically you're playing to a group of people knowing it's gonna help you politically wise, or like the perception of you. Right, and I think that's pandering. Darkwood said, you won't get any argument with me about slowing down the immigration, but we should prioritize the people giving the U.S. intelligence and those fleeing variable persecution. I agree, and hear me out, Darkwoods. It's messed up that, in a way that like, and I'm not trying to be super like messed up, but like, here, in instance that you're right, okay, we helped people in Afghanistan, like our Afghan allies, like the speech tellers or translators in Afghanistan, right? And then when we moved, we didn't offer them asylum, or we didn't offer all of them, like immigration papers, which is messed up, because maybe those people who are fleeing persecution from the Taliban, who helped us and our translators and our America First and Western First, they don't like the Taliban. They deserve to have asylum because they've been persecuted by our withdrawal. That's an argument I could see, and they're Afghani Muslims. I don't like Muslims, but if they're Afghani Muslims, they have the right intentions. They helped American troops. They're America First. Then there should be in our country. So it's like a mitch and match, tit for tat. I understand what you guys are saying on that, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's the entire narrative around the immigration issue is hard and contentious, because at the end of the day, we're all immigrants, I guess. Yeah, and I want to go back to okay, so this is Bill Moore educates or I mean, Charlie Kirk educates Bill Maher on Christianity. Okay, we should listen to this clip.
Because it is a constant truth in our life.
He is risen. I always noticed that was interesting to me.
That's a really important question, actually.
It is. Tell me.
Well, because the fact that he is risen transcends time. It's not just in the present sense. It's that of all time, that promise is accessible to all of us. And so it's a proclamation to all people. Because if you said, hey, he was risen, it's like it's just merely a historical event. It almost underplays the metaphysics of it.
I'm just always fascinated the way really, really fine intellectual minds employ themselves for the purpose of arguing things that are so inarguable.
But
it does, because it's almost like a challenge. Like, I'm so smart that I can make this thing, which is so stupid, seem like a real. I'm kidding.
No, it's fine.
No, but you get where I'm coming from. Like, I'm going to take something that is so anti-intellectual, even though I can argue like an intellectual.
However, but you have to acknowledge, even the greatest minds of history have been mesmerized by the scriptures. Isaac Newton, Thomas Aquinas.
Well,
Isaac Newton wrote more about biblical prophecy than even physics. And so there's something about the scriptures that are intellectual, that does push your limits. And that's what I think is so beautiful about our faith, is it can be accessible to everyone, but also infinitely nourishing in exploration.
Yeah, good point to that, you know. And that's what I guess the left and people who are not religious, like again, I said, I'm not super religious. But if I had to pick a religion and take a side, it'd definitely be the Christian side. Not because of, merely principle faith.
He is risen.
He is risen.
The actual faith. So yeah, okay, so this guy, because this was blowing up yesterday on TikTok. I don't know if anybody saw the interaction between these guys. So Charlie Kirk versus veteran on the Holocaust and 9/11. Is it this one? It might be this one here.
You believe that the Jews run the American government.
That's not a secret, Charlie.
Well, no, I find it hilarious that
all of Trump's cabinet is Jewish. Have an AIPAC advisor. Not a single person in Congress can make a decision without asking their Israeli Jewish AIPAC advisor. Israel did 9/11, Charlie.
Oh, they did. Wow.
Why are we in the middle? I served. Why were we in the Middle East?
Well, I mean, you can,
why were we in the Middle East?
You can reject involvement in the Middle East without also believing Israel did 9/11. So if Israel did 9/11, help me understand this. Who were the hijackers of the planes?
They weren't hijackers. CIA and Israel worked together.
No. Explain to me what happened on the aircraft.
Okay, first off, what we have to understand, there's only one plane that actually crashed.
No, there were three.
No, the building's imploded.
Okay,
if a plane's going to hit a building, why would the building fall down?
Time out. Flight 93, did it exist?
Flight 93 existed, yes.
Okay, so who tried to hijack that plane?
They sacrificed those people to make it look like Bush was targeted because they wanted to cover up Bush's involvement. He just happened to be in Texas reading a book to elementary kids, and they were reading a sign on a whiteboard
let me say
that talked about towers falling, Charlie.
Anti-Semitism.
We have been lied to since the beginning of this country. Jews, Freemasons, all of it's a satanic agenda. Israel is the synagogue of Satan. They're killing innocent people in Palestine over the guise of sovereignty. New World Order is coming, Charlie.
Guys, anti-Semitism is literally a brain cancer, as you could see.
How is this anti-Semitic, Charlie?
Okay. Explain to me Flight 93. Who was it?
The government put them there.
No, who was it?
They crashed a plane intentionally to make it look like George W. Bush was targeted.
Who was the hijacker?
Yeah, keep going.
No, this is important. They can never answer this question. Who was the hijacker?
They didn't have real hijackers, Charlie. They were plants.
Okay. So they got the black box. Of course, it was all just like a conspiracy.
Just like they found the passport miraculously 2 miles down from the crash site in
I'm sorry,
New York.
What?
They just happened to find one of the hijackers' passports laying on the ground 2 miles away from the crash site in New York.
That's a groiper.
It just happened to be there. They just walked up and found it. They just randomly happened to find a perfectly good passport.
With that piece
Look
of
it
data.
up. Look, World War II was fought not over what everyone thought it was fought of. Every war is fought by. It is funded by the rich, the Rockefellers, all the rich, the Rothschilds.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
They funded all those wars.
Was Hitler bad?
I think Hitler was bad. Yes, Hitler was bad. Yes. But did the Holocaust happen? The Holocaust did happen.
How many people died?
Not 6 million.
How many?
It was not 6 million. I don't have an exact number, Charlie. I don't have an exact number, but it wasn't
Okay, but you
6
said
million.
it's not 6 million. You must have an alternative. How do you know it's not 6 million?
Because there wasn't even 6 million Jews in Germany.
Okay, well, I mean, you tell me. You're the expert.
The reason why Jews have been run out of 109 countries throughout history is because every time they get into a country, they try and take it over.
Wow,
in Nazi Germany, again, they are having transgender surgeries, underground transgender surgeries. They're promoting homosexuality in schools.
Dude, oh my god, you guys saw that, dude? Dude, I mean, that was straight up. Shout out Charlie Kirk for debating a guy like that. That guy's fully thrown out. I mean, I used to think like that. I used to be, you know, the Nick Fuentes great for blaming the Jews for everything. But I mean, stuff like this, we need to look at the comment section. Holy moly. Okay, what does the comment say about this? Who won? Suffice to say it, this guy isn't the most articulate, nor does he likely have the information, but he has enough temerity to courage to stand up and publicly challenge a prominent figure on a controversial topic, okay? So, you know, saying maybe he's right or wrong, you give him credit for standing up to Charlie. Dom Dad said, his theories are rooted but possible to improve, so that's hard to argue. I mean, so, exactly, you know? Like, that's a good comment you just made. His theories are rooted in possible, but to prove are hard, okay? So he's arguing from a ideological, theoretical standpoint that, you know what, the Jews, Israel, it's the question, it's the influence, it's the matrix, the structure, the establishment leads to this group of people, but you can't just prove it, you know? You can't just, you can say it's the Jews, but like if you're looking for like physical evidence or actual evidence to prove it in a court or something, I mean, you can't just say it's all the Jews because Americans were in on it. American CIA was in on it. It's not just the Jews; it's Americans too. But this guy comes off as an anti-Semite, as somebody who's a Jew hater, because you're just blaming it. And think about how easy that is. I figured it out, everybody. I figured it out. All your life problems, all the conspiracy theories, everything is blamed on this group of people. It's the Jews. See how easy that was? Yeah, no, you're right. And he said, Tom Dad said he was going full Alex Jones. Yeah, too bad Alex Jones. Alex Jones has the same energy when it comes to China, but when it comes to Israel, he's a little more pro-Israel. I understand why he is that way, because he doesn't have the tendency to blame everything on this group of people. And Alex Jones grew out of that. Alex Jones was like, it's Bohemian Grove, it's Skull and Bones, it's the deep state, it's China, it's the globalists. You know, it's a nuanced thing when it comes to the hierarchy and power structures of world civilization, right? Let's keep going though. He's definitely a shitbag that never finished his enlistment veteran. Okay, that guy made himself look like a schizophrenic. He made himself look like an unhinged foil of that conspiracy theorist. Okay, so I mean, I guess the negative comments pertaining this guy, a lot of people think he lost. This guy says, or she said, this is not a win. The veteran is right about satanic societies running the world and the New World Order being real. However, it wasn't the Jews, it was Islam, the 9/11 insider. And that's the thing, he couldn't fucking answer, guys. You know, did Israel and the Jews commit 9/11, dude? Because they did everything else. No, obviously, we saw 11 Muslims, Shia, Sunni, Muslim, hijack the plane and kill Americans. Yes, and Osama bin Laden wrote a letter and took credit for it. So it's either the Jews or, you know, Osama bin Laden wrote a false letter to the American states saying he took credit for that. You know, like, what do I believe, guys? Comment what I should believe, if it's real or not. Alex Jones was right about a lot of stuff. You wouldn't believe how much stuff I found when I was just fact-checked everything he said. You know? And, you know, and that's a good thing, Dark Woods and Dumb Data. Alex Jones in this, and then he said, you listen to the news, you need to fact check it for sure. Alex Jones, and I like Alex Jones in the terms that he's a real thought leader in this argument. And when he blames, and this is the difference between Alex Jones and somebody like him or a Nick Fuentes, Alex Jones has concrete evidence to lead to the globalists or the Chinese. The Chinese are the globalists, but to lead to like the globalist argument, he has concrete evidence for that. He has the world leaders, the places, their what they do. But when it comes to like this conspiracy theory, the non-globalist, the Jew thing, blaming and I get it, like blaming everything on this certain group of people, and it's all over the news. It's been all over the news since October 7th. We see it in Instagram, we see it in YouTube, we see it in Twitter, we see it all day around us. The Jewish question, But you don't take it like that. You're a full absurd obsession with the group of people and blaming them everything on that. I don't do that. Maybe I'd be 10 more times famous if I did that. Maybe I should start doing that. Just kidding. But no, people like that are just, I can't have a serious discussion with that. You're right. Charlie Kirk, shout out to Charlie Kirk. America first, it's a different conversation when it comes to that. Dark Group presents, I don't mean to let other people or companies that make money fact check me. I mean, you need to fact check yourself. Okay, yeah, no, sure. I need to start reevaluating some of the information that pops up on this Twitter, because it is a free market, it's a free world. Information on here can't be verified or unverified. We'll have to do due diligence. But obviously places like Twitter, it's just a free marketplace of ideas, and it goes run wild. I said, I think we should make a fact check orgs legal that are your propaganda machines. For sure. I mean, who the fuck is a fact check? And the same thing with Mark Zuckerberg and like the fact checkers, the community. And I like the community notes more, but the fact checkers are checking, it's going out of place. But definitely on Twitter, you have to verify for sure. Twitter's crazy. You know what's real, what's not. But let's get into one more story. Let's see what else is trending on here. Okay, so on April 21st, we covered Vladimir Putin's trending, Mossad, Pete Hegseth, Afghanistan, Charlie Kirk, Gold, the Dow, the Education Department, and SIA. Let's look at the Education Department, because this Education Department might just be, it's just going to be non-existent in the coming future, apparently. Dom Data said, fact check the fact checkers, for sure. They are fact checkers. They probably sit at home and look at the screen and tell you what's right or what's wrong. But yeah, let's keep. And could you imagine being a professional fact checker? What is your career? I'm a professional fact checker. I just know what's right and what's wrong. Yeah, a bunch of baloney. But yeah, let's keep looking. So, look at this. 7 hours ago, everybody, the Breaking Education Department said it will begin collection on student loans for over 5 million borrowers in the fall. 1.8 million views. Yo, this is America first comment, because think about this. There's a difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden on this issue. Joe Biden was going to forgive the loans. Think about it. He was going to forgive the loans of everybody for the past 20 years who borrowed money paying for education. So you in fact fucked over the business people if you're going to do that. Obviously, Donald Trump, being America first, said that's not right. That's not how this works. If you take out money, you should pay it back. It's not fair for the business. It's not for the consumer. It's not fair for the system. So when you hear stuff like this, actually, your student loans aren't forgiven. Actually, when you sign a contract that says a free marketplace, you sign a contract that says you have to pay it back. You have to pay it back. Nobody's going to get their loan forgiven. These students have to pay for their education. My parents paid for the education. I had to get out $10,000 to pay for some of my education. Not all my education's free either. But these people that are libs, that are progressive, that are Democrats, that are like Joe Biden, wanted student debt to be forgiven, all of it. That was his biggest thing he ran on it. If you vote for me, student debt, loans, payback, take it back to the capitalists. Good thing we have Donald Trump in office, and I'm not even like a full-on MAGA guy, but this is seriously like worth it, because not only are the education system, and maybe the education system's it's corrupt, it's fucked up, it screws people. I get that. But that's different than like taking a loan out and paying it back, than the actual school system. Okay. But the entire idea of, forgiving loans, it wasn't fair to my parents. It shouldn't be fair to your kids, It's like the saying, you like it when it benefits you and you don't like it when it benefits somebody else, Dom Dada said, if student loans were business loans, they would never get approved. Yeah, and that's deep word, and maybe that plays a part for the educational system, which is rigged. And I agree with Trump, and this is the difference. Trump will say like no student loans returned, but like to get back at the education system, actually we're gonna defund the Department of Education to get it. I mean, that's how you deal with it. You take the fight to the establishment. You take the fight to the people who are in control, the Department of Education. You don't take the fight to like to the banks to not pay your loans back. It's insane that's happening. Duckworth presents said, I got a scholarship. I think we need to fund more scholarships. If you are good, and as I am, I definitely think more. And that's good. That's a good comment. Like, if you're genuinely smart, if you're genuinely working towards, honors, scholarships, then you deserve it, right? And maybe we should increase the amount of scholarships because it increases the competition, the free market, the capitalism. Sure, but like, and then you also said, you shouldn't get financial aid for stupid education or overcrowded majors. I mean, that's my next point. Thank you for saying that. I mean, so I get the scholarship and I get the funds. We need that. We need more of that. But for like financial aid, government aid, and also student loans, you're gonna have to pick and choose. All right, not everything's gonna be given to you. Not everything can be handed to you. Not everything can be forgiven. My parents, your parents had to learn the hard way. You know, buying a house, take out a loan, but go to college, take out a loan. I mean, so when libs are arguing this, which is a trending story, or is this today, right? 7 hours ago, guys. 7 hours ago, this was reported. So yes, there actually is a warfare, a educational warfare when it comes to establishments when it pertains to Ivy League, non-Ivy League, elitist being non-elitist, public versus private. So we're gonna see how it plays out. But obviously, we're gonna keep in touch. This story just happened today. And you said, like, when it comes to majors, like, look, I think what needs to be prioritized, and we can give money to students to prioritize this, is science, engineering, medicine. I mean, what other like majors are good? Technician, sure. Army, okay. But for like, like liberal arts or some like gender studies degree, you're right. You said a gender studies degree should not be paid for. You said we should not be paying for art of or gender education. You should be able to get a job without education before. And that's my point. Thanks for commenting that. There are things we should prioritize. There are things we should prefer, and we should make that known, and we can make that known because we have a free country, and we can say and have that opinion. We prefer science STEM over liberal arts. Prefer the white people over the black people. I mean, it's preference, and it's a free country. You can say that. It's not racist. It's not fucked up. We're not targeting you. The students need to grow a pair and actually, repay the loans like our parents did. So I appreciate, when the Associated Press comments like this, maybe not. And before we go, let's look at the comment section. Let's see what the free market says about this. This guy said, garnish their wages, put lanes on anything of value they own. That's true. That's what the educational system. Now, let's remember we send them billions onto foreign countries every year. We should drop off foreign aid to zero forever and use that money to pay off this predatory student loan system. After that, we can use money to help American citizens. This is a losing position for Republicans. If a Democrat, I would absolutely bury my opponent with this. And that's what the Democrats say, Look at this guy. This is a losing position for Republicans. If I was a Democrat, I would bury my opponent with this. Yeah, sure, right, vote for me and I'll forgive your student loans. Absurd socialism, absurd progressivism. People like David Gregors, just made an insane comment like that. My gosh. Need to reserve all the loans Biden gave to illegal foreigners. That's right, everybody. And comment what you think about that. Same with New York. The $53 million prepaid credit cards. Give me that shit back. That shit ain't forgivable. That's hilarious, dude. And Trump is the president now. Trump can reverse all those decisions, My gosh. Remember when Trump and company said they care about working middle class? Those borrowers are working class. This is a fair comment to have. Remember when Trump and the company said they care about working class? Okay, and they pay. So they do. That's why I shouldn't have to pay for someone else's school loan. And then expecting borrowers not to repay loans is the opposite of caring about them, and that's true. That's obviously the difference between how we look at it. I mean, the entire capitalism thing, we look at it different too. Progressives, conservatives, liberals, libertarians. And Devilish said, yeah, gender studies, the critical race theory are the worst. For sure. And Dom Data said, the comment section is a free market. Yeah. You always have to go to the comment section after a controversial post or a news post to see what the people are reacting to. So yeah, for sure. Always check the comment section. Dark presents, I knew it would be high demand. I got Smart Grant, which is now called for President Awards and election. Okay. And that's true, right? That's true. If you work hard for a grant or a student loan, then you deserve it, right? And I mean, okay, and actually, so I agree with all the comments you guys are leaving for sure. But just to wrap this up, guys, and to finish my point, you know, how an independent looks at this, forget left and right. An independent, we value free market, we value fairness, we value kind of like an not like centrist position on this, but obviously in a free world and in a free market, if you do something, you have to follow up. You have to follow up on it. So when these people say, well, actually, it's more America first to give the middle class a break, to give poor people a break, and forgive their student loans and just let them be, right? That's a fundamental, like, lower class perspective, and I agree with that, and I sympathize with that position. But for the working class, for entrepreneurs, for people who are getting screwed over by the system, by a part of the system, cutting student loans is just part of the problem. Giving and how about this? In a sense, student loans are it's a participation trophy. It's a handout. Okay, not everybody should be given forgiven loans, specifically forgiven. But yeah, I mean, going back to like these comments, I mean, I agree with this comment here too. So this one right here. Aren't these educated people that claim to be smarter than everyone else? If this is true, they can't pay for their loans back when these awesome jobs they have in front of their higher education and higher knowledge. That's like the most hypocrisy like thing too. Like, you're going to a Ivy League school, you're going to a higher education to get a job in the establishment, to get a job in the higher up, in order to pay your loan back. So in essence, you either needed to pay your loan back because you really needed a loan, or you didn't need the loan because you're going to have a nice job and all that. So like, there is a contradictory between people who want education, higher education, but don't want to pay for it. They want other people to pay for it, But yeah, I think that's a good conversation, and that's a tough conversation to have too, guys. 7 hours ago, they reported this. Breaking news, all right? But yeah, I think we'll leave it off for that. It's a good Monday, April 21st. We got through a lot of news update. We'll be back every single day at 8 p.m. covering this news. But yeah, today the biggest news was Pete Hegseth, Signalgate, the Pope dies, and the education department is on his knees. Okay, that's the biggest news happening on April 21st on Monday. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We're gonna be back to